Hello there, I'm Nadia Azmi and this is Nightline. Here are the top stories. PM unveils new initiatives to honour civil servants and boost public service. And Malaysia's economy grows by 4.4% in second quarter of 2025. Good morning. The Prime Minister has unveiled several new initiatives to recognise the contributions of civil servants and further strengthen the public service. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the initiatives underscore the government's commitment to improve efficiency, professionalism and civil servants' welfare while ensuring the national development agenda is implemented more effectively. Speaking at the 20th Civil Service Premier Assembly or MAPA 20 in Putrajaya on Friday, Anwar announced that the government had agreed to extend the performance-based incentive payments or BIPs scheme to include more ranks in the Malaysian Armed Forces.
Jadi kita setuju perluaskan insentif ini kepada anggota lain-lain pangkat ATM iaitu sarjan setaraf grade Z4 dan staff sergeant setaraf grade Z5.
Anwar added that the qualifying service period for BIPs for grades Z4 to Z7 will be reduced from 6 years to 4 years. In addition, entry qualifications for enlisted members of the Armed Forces Service scheme at grade Z1 special duties will be expanded to include the Medical Corps, Religious Corps and Engineering Corps. The move, which takes effect on January 1st next year, will benefit 3,789 personnel with an annual financial implication of 6.47 million ringgit. On the same stage, Anwar announced that Academic Recognition Awards or HPA would be given in the form of financial incentives to civil servants who further their studies. The one-off incentive will be provided to those who obtain higher academic qualifications at their own expense while in service.
Untuk ijazah kedoktoran RM1,250, ijazah sarjana RM1,000, RM750 ijazah sarjana muda, RM500 yang mendapat diploma atau kelayakan setara.
More than 75 million ringgit has been allocated to 91,000 civil servants who applied for the HPA scheme across all service grades. The aim is to encourage civil servants to enhance their capabilities through their own effort and initiatives. Further, the Prime Minister also announced that the government had allocated 3 million ringgit to strengthen the National Institute of Public Administration or Intan and continue the APEL Q at Intan program for 2026 with an allocation of 1.5 million ringgit. In addition, Anwar announced that the government would abolish the requirement for permanent public servants to be confirmed in service in order to qualify for Hajj leave. During his speech at the same event, Anwar emphasized that repeated warnings have already been issued to those who continue to incite unrest and threaten public security. In light of this, he said the authorities have been instructed to take firm action without compromise against anyone exploiting certain issues to inflame public sentiment.
Saya ingin jelaskan di sini ya. Dari hal yang sebesarnya seperti kematian anak kita Zara di Sabah, ke isu jalur gemilang yang harus kita raih dan muliakan, semuanya jadi agenda untuk menghangatkan suhu politik.
Anwar stressed the urgent need to act against those deliberately stoking division. Such measures, he said, are crucial to protect the nation from falling into the trap of discord and potential racial unrest.
Sebab itu, saya ingin menggesa dan beri arahan yang jelas kepada badan penguasaan. Ada sahaja mana-mana unsur, tokoh besar atau tokoh kecil, tokoh politik atau masyarakat, termasuk rakyat awam, yang terlibat dalam jenayah, pugutan, hasutan seperti ini, saya ingin tegaskan di sini, ya, sudahlah.
Anwar also assured that his government will continue to safeguard the security of all citizens, regardless of race or religion, and that there will be no compromise when it comes to matters of violence. Meanwhile, over 10,000 people gathered in Kota Kinabalu on Friday night to show solidarity and call for justice for Zara Khairina Mahathir, whose death has ignited nationwide outrage. The gathering, which took place at Padang Merdeka, started at 7:50 p.m., drew participants from all walks of life. The attendees not only expressed their grief over her death, but also called on authorities to conduct a thorough investigation to uncover the truth behind the tragedy. Similar scenes unfolded in Kuala Lumpur, where hundreds gathered in front of a shopping mall at Jalan Tuanku Abdul Rahman. Rallies were also held in Putrajaya and Kepala Batas, Pulau Pinang. 13-year-old Zara died after being found unconscious in the compound of her school dormitory on July 16th. Earlier, Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Datuk Fadil Marsus stressed that the police will take stern action against anyone breaking the law during the Himpunan Demi Zara Khairina rally in the capital on Friday and Saturday night.
Kita akan accommodate, kita akan permudahkan. Tapi jangan ambil peluang, jangan ambil tindakan di luar undang-undang, tidak mematuhi arahan. Kita akan ambil tindakan immediate, very serious. Kita tidak akan betul azur.
On July 16th, Zara Khairina Mahathir, a Form 1 student at SMKA Tun Datu Mustafa in Papar Sabah, was found unconscious in a drain near her dormitory at 4 a.m. The 13-year-old was pronounced dead the next day at Queen Elizabeth Hospital 1 in Kota Kinabalu. A post-mortem on August 10th found the cause of death was severe brain injury due to a lack of oxygen and blood flow. The Attorney General's Chambers has reminded the public to respect the Malaysian flag as a symbol of national sovereignty and to comply with all laws governing its use. The public is also advised not to take matters into their own hands against individuals or parties who improperly display the Jalur Gemilang, but instead to lodge complaints with the authorities. In a statement on Friday, the AG's chamber stressed that people should not storm premises, spread personal information, make accusations on social media, or issue threats to those involved. This also includes not taking over the role of the authorities by ordering the removal of the flag or seizing related items without legal authority. Instead, all complaints or related information should be channeled to the authorities for appropriate action in accordance with the rule of law. The AG's chambers also emphasized that any improper installation or display of the Malaysian flag that could cause confusion, misunderstanding, or public unrest may result in legal action. Malaysia's economy expanded by 4.4% in the second quarter of 2025, supported by robust domestic demand and continued export growth. Gross domestic product, or GDP growth, was unchanged from the first quarter's 4.4% and is on track to achieve Bank Negara Malaysia's announced growth target of between 4 and 4.8%. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, almost all economic sectors recorded growth in the second quarter. Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said the expansion was driven by the construction sector, which continued to record double-digit growth.
Dari segi pengeluaran, sektor perkhidmatan meningkat 5.1%, sektor pembuatan 3.7%, sektor pertanian 2.1% dan sektor pembinaan 12.1%. Manakala sektor perlombongan dan pengkeluaran menyusut sebanyak 5.2%.
Household spending also rose, supported by a healthy labour market and income measures such as higher minimum wages and civil servant salaries. Private and public investments also increased, driven by new and ongoing projects. However, the country's net exports declined by 72.6%. Meanwhile, BNM Governor Datuk Seri Abdul Rashid Ghaffur said the central bank is maintaining its 2025 GDP growth forecast at between 4 and 4.8%.
We have taken into consideration the range of possible outcome from the tariff. If you look at our assumptions in the quarterly bulletin, we've taken an assumptions range of between 13% to 25%. So that falls within our growth range at this point of time.
The country's headline inflation eased to 1.3%, with core inflation remaining stable at 1.8%, driven by lower RON 97 petrol and diesel prices. The Malaysian ringgit also recorded positive performance, gaining 5.1% against the US dollar. The local note's strengthening was driven by the greenback's continued weakness amid expectations of subdued US economic growth. Abdul Rashid said the ringgit's performance was also supported by the central bank's initiatives alongside the prolonged impact of external risk factors.
The favorable prospects and reforms that's complemented by the ongoing measures that we are taking to encourage flows, this will continue to support ringgit going forward. But having said that, ringgit is market determined, so we do not set a target for ringgit.
The national currency's nominal effective exchange rate rose 1.5% against the currencies of Malaysia's major trading partners during the quarter. The ringgit ended Friday at 4.21 against the US dollar. For an economist from Putra Business School, Malaysia's economy is expected to remain competitive for the rest of the year. Ahmad Razman Abdul Latif said the central bank's GDP forecast remains achievable despite potential threats from the US reciprocal tariffs.
The percentage increase from Q1 to Q2 this year is actually higher than last year growth from Q1 to Q2. Which indicating the fact that we are experiencing higher GDP growth in quarterly basis and signal a continuously robust economic growth for the first half of the year.
Petroleum Nasional Berhad Petronas and Petroleum Sarawak Berhad or Petros have yet to finalise the terms and mechanism for gas distribution within the state. According to Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Seri Azalina Othman Said, the two entities are still in talks to finalise the cooperation framework based on agreed principles in line with commercial considerations. She added that the impact on Petronas's financial performance cannot yet be determined at this stage, as the terms and implementation mechanisms remain under negotiation. On May 21st, Petronas and Petros signed a joint declaration establishing the framework for cooperation between both companies. Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto on Friday unveiled a $234 billion budget proposal for next year, with a deficit forecast at 2.48% of GDP. In his first fiscal policy address to Parliament, he vowed to gradually close the gap and balance the budget within 3 years. Prabowo said the 2026 budget is designed to ensure the country is strong, independent and prosperous. He noted that the plan includes spending of about $234.5 billion, up 7.3% from 2025, and revenues of $194.8 billion, nearly 10% higher than this year. The president stressed that efficiency measures would need to be taken to reduce the fiscal gap and vowed to have no deficit by 2027 or 2028. He also pledged to lift spending to boost growth to 8% over his term, while achieving food and energy self-sufficiency. The budget proposal is the first developed by Prabowo's administration after he took office last October. China's economic momentum weakened in July, with factory output slowing to 5.7%, an 8-month low, while retail sales grew just 3.7%, the weakest since December 2024. The slump comes amid pressure from US trade policies, weak domestic demand, overcapacity, extreme weather, and a prolonged property crisis. Fixed asset investment further underperformed, growing only 1.6% in the first 7 months, compared to 2.8% in the first half. GDP growth is expected to drop to 4.6% this year and 4.2% next year, missing Beijing's 5% target. The government has pledged more spending and steps to ease competition, but analysts warn that without stronger stimulus, the outlook remains fragile.
A 5-year plan to drive growth, cut deficits, and build a Madani economy. we break down the 13th Malaysia Plan, the nation's blueprint for inclusive, sustainable development. Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah speaks with non-resident senior fellow at the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research MIER, Datuk K. Yogasbaran. Only on Money Matters, this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Woman in induced coma after boyfriend sets her on fire. This and more after this breather.
Setiap kali task tu memang agak struggle lah saya sebab nak training dengan tekanan. Sebab kita main dengan teknikal, macam risiko boleh jadi.
Sebelum tu saya buat event biasa iaitu double horse and jockey. Ketika depan audien, depan VIP saya jatuh. Melibatkan bahu kiri saya tercabut. Berdebar tu setiap kali membuat persembahan mesti ada perasaan tu lah.
Cat Fashion Week. Miau menyala, gaya membara. Temui 8 finalis Cat Fashion Week. Eksklusif di Nona setiap Ahad 2 petang. Bersiaran di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Ada pengorbanan di setiap pilihan sepanjang Ogos ini. Pondok Senja.
Memang tu hajat dia pun.
Pilihan Brozana.
Sejak bila kau buat perangai macam ni?
Mr. May, suami ibu. Misi Arjuna. Selimut Merdeka. Berbaloikah semuanya? Tereka pilihan setiap Sabtu 2 petang di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Masuk hutan, selam lautan dan tinjau wildlife beraksi dalam Arabian Seas. Africa's Hunters musim pertama. Chasing the Rains. Africa's Hunters musim kedua. Alien Abyss. Layan Animal Documentary di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Welcome back. Police are tracing the owner of the phone number used to send threatening messages to the wife of former Economic Minister Datuk Seri Rafizi Ramli. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Shazli Kahar said a police report has also been filed by the Pandan Member of Parliament's wife. According to Shazali, the probe into the threats falls under Section 507 of the Penal Code for criminal intimidation. To date, police have recorded statements from 6 individuals in connection with the incident. He added police are still tracking down the 2 suspects involved in the attack on Rafizi's son at a shopping mall in Putrajaya last Wednesday. So far, the identities of the suspects and the motive behind the incident remain unknown. A detailed investigation is being conducted based on phone records and CCTV footage from the scene. At a media conference on Thursday, Rafizi claimed that the attack on his son as well as the threats received by his wife were intended to silence him from exposing a scandal. The mother of the late Shamsul Haris Shamsuddin, a trainee cadet officer with the Reserve Officers Training Unit or PALAPES at University Technology Malaysia in Skudai, Johor, has filed a court application to exhume his grave for a second post-mortem. 45-year-old Haiman B. Daulatgun is also seeking an inquest into her son's death, naming the Inspector General of Police, Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Ismail, and Attorney General Tan Sri Muhammad Dusuki Mokhtar as the respondents. She She believes there were criminal elements involved, citing conflicting explanations for how her son died during training at Pulada in Ulu Tiram, Johor on July 28. She also claimed that the family was not allowed to view the deceased's entire body. However, Defence Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Nordin earlier said a probe had found no signs of abuse. A 37-year-old woman is in an induced coma after her boyfriend allegedly doused her with petrol and set her on fire near the Simpang Renggam Toll Plaza in Kluang, Johor on Wednesday. The 44-year-old suspect is also in an induced coma at the Encik Besar Hajah Kalsum Hospital after sustaining serious burns. Another man in his 30s who tried to help the victim was also injured and taken to the same hospital. Kluang District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Bahrain Muhammad Noor said in the 5:46 a.m. incident, the suspect had pulled his girlfriend off a bus before dousing her and himself with petrol, then setting them both alight. The case is being investigated under Section 307 of the Penal Code for attempted murder. Property tycoon spared jail in Singapore gift scandal. The details when Nightline returns.
A 5-year plan to drive growth, cut deficits and build a Madani economy. We break down the 13th Malaysia Plan, the nation's blueprint for inclusive, sustainable development. Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah speaks with non-resident senior fellow at the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research MIER, Datuk K. Yogasbaran. Only on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Telinga tak ada lubang, tulang bengkok, tangan pun bengkok, buah pinggang cuma satu, jantung cuma ada 2 saluran sahaja. Mula tahu yang orang rumah sakit, saya dah pasrah je lah. Tak boleh nak kata apalah, itu semua ketentuan Allah Ta'ala kan. Bergantung pada saya lah sepenuhnya sekarang ni. Pasal apa dia tak boleh buat apa-apa.
Siapa suka makan nasi berani? Angkat tangan. Ada kambing, muih-muih, ada lauk pauk kampung, kuah yang pekat, rasa rempah. Ui, lembutnya daging kambing dia. Tam dia memang padu. Isi padat, manis isi dia. Ini pula kita ada daging bakar danuk. Adalah rasa dia punya pedas-pedas manja-manja macam tu. Jangan lupa saksikan Jalan-Jalan Cari Makan setiap hari Ahad 11.30 pagi di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Selamat datang ke pentas penuh gaya dan kecomelan. Miau menyala, gaya membara. Miau.
Saya rasa baju memang full mark lah, saya rasa.
Kalau Syiha suka sangat tadi waktu dia tukar kostum tu. Love.
Sebab dia selesa dengan songkok.
Saksikan keleta lincah finalis Si Bulus Dalam Cat Fashion Week 17 Ogos, Ahad jam 9 malam.
The foreign news now. Singapore-based billionaire Ong Beng Seng has been fined $23,400 after pleading guilty to a charge of abetting the obstruction of justice in a case linked to a gift-related scandal. At his sentencing on Friday, Judge Lee Lit Cheng said an appropriate sentence would have been 3 months in jail, but noted that imprisonment could pose a risk to Ong's life. 79-year-old Ong suffers from multiple myeloma, a rare bone marrow cancer. The Malaysian property tycoon admitted to helping ex-Transport Minister S. Iswaran cover up evidence while the latter was being investigated for corruption. Ong gave expensive gifts to Iswaran, including an all-expenses-paid trip with a private jet ride while they were engaged in official business. The Thai King's eldest daughter, who has been gravely ill in hospital for more than 2 years, has suffered a severe blood infection. A statement from the Bureau of the Royal Household on Friday said medication and equipment are being used to support Princess Bajarakitiyaba Mahidol's lung and kidney function. Bajarakitiyaba has been unconscious in hospital since falling ill with a heart condition in December 2022 during a military dog training session at Nakhon Ratchasima, north of the capital Bangkok. Known in Thailand as Princess Ba, the 46-year-old is the only child from King Maha Vajiralongkorn's first marriage. Rescue operations have intensified after a cloudburst in Indian-administered Jammu and Kashmir left at least 60 dead and over 100 injured. Officials on Friday said several earth movers requisitioned by the district administration were deployed to clear giant boulders, uprooted trees and electricity poles to accelerate rescue and relief efforts. The Indian military had also deployed 300 personnel to help with the rescue efforts. So far, at least 167 people have been rescued from the debris, while an estimated 100 to 200 may still be trapped under the rubble. A cloudburst struck Chositi village near the Makail Mata Shrine in Kichwa's Padar Kashoti area, triggering flash floods that swept away a community kitchen, security post and other structures on Thursday. At least 31 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since the early hours of Friday. This toll includes 13 starving people who were killed while seeking aid, with 6 killed in northern Gaza and 7 in the central and southern parts of the Strip. Zionist forces have also arrested at least 20 Palestinians in raids across the West Bank, where several Palestinians were also injured during attacks by armed settlers. It comes as Israel faces global condemnation after far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich announced plans to approve over 3,000 homes in the E1 area of the occupied West Bank, dividing land meant for a future Palestinian state. On to sports style football. Johor Darul Takzim are relishing the chance to reignite their rivalry with Thai heavyweights Buriram United in this season's AFC Champions League Elite. The Southern Tigers face a tough draw with away trips to Buriram, Melbourne City, Sanfrecce Hiroshima and Chengdu Rongcheng, while hosting Shanghai Port, Shanghai Shenhua, Vissel Kobe and Machida Zelvia at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium. Last season, Buriram ended JDT's campaign in the round of 16, winning 1-0 on aggregate. JDT will play 8 matches in the 12-team East Asia format, with the top 8 advancing to the knockout phase. The season starts in September and runs until April, with the finals in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, in the Champions League Elite 2, Selangor FC have been drawn with Bangkok United, Lion City Sailors and Persib Bandung. Group stage action runs from September to December, with the finals set for May 16 next year. Still on football, the wait is over. The English Premier League finally returns this weekend. Now Arsenal face an immediate test of their title credentials against a revamped Manchester United, while a new-look Liverpool opened their campaign at home to Bournemouth on Friday. All eyes will be on Old Trafford, where Benjamin Sesko and Victor Gyökeres make their Premier League debuts after a summer when both strikers were linked with each other's club. Arsenal hope Gyökeres, signed for £66 million, can end a 21-year title drought, while Red Devils head coach Ruben Amorim has rebuilt his attack with Sesko, Brian Mbeumo and Matthias Cunha to bounce back from last season's 15th place finish. Meanwhile, champions Liverpool have splashed out £260 million on 4 big signings, but are still adapting after losing key players and the tragic death of Diogo Jota. New boss Arne Slot admits it's a transition, but said the team is ready to defend the title. Before we leave, let's take a look at the first World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing, where over 500 androids from 16 countries compete in sports and practical tasks, from kung fu to cleaning. With that, I'm Nadia Azmi. Thank you for watching and stay safe.